Jai Gurudev. Does everyone know how to feel the pulse? So then simple, like men right hand, women left hand, always thumb rule, and then like women keep their left hand on the right, men their right hand on the left, so resting well. Take your index finger, feel where at the end of the thumb, where the bony prominence ends. Can you all feel the slight bony prominence? So where it ends, you come up, which is like the index finger is like the line. So you put the index first, middle, ring. Can everyone feel the pulse? Anyone who can't feel the pulse? Yes. So again, meaning your fingers are not at the right place. So like resting it well, like imagine you're holding a guitar or instrument, how you place them rightly. So resting and making sure they're folded, because when you fold right, they become even. This uneven fingers become even. Yes. So in that, just under the thumb, like you can keep your hand like this and try to feel. Yes. So it's that simple to feel the pulse. Namami dhanvantarimadidaivam surasurairvanditapadapatmam loke jararugbhamratyunasham dhataramisham vividhaushadina. So we just invoked Dhanvantari, who is one of the expressions of Vishnu, that which maintains, and he maintains health. So it's the health aspect of consciousness. So I thought of a discussion to speak today, a topic, and we'll also have some questions. First of all, thank you everyone for coming, really appreciate. And thank you to Sana and Carmela for organizing this, and the yoga studio also. Is anyone here from the yoga studio who runs it? Thank you. And for Harsha Ji for coming on his tour to Bellingen the first time. He was telling me about this is a very nice place, but as soon as we were on the journey, we could feel very pleasant. It didn't even feel like it was 4 hours. No. So I was thinking today to speak about the pelvis and this region which we call in Ayurveda Apana Vata, or you may have heard in yoga terms Apana Vayu. And what made me think about it is because we just did banana treatment in Newcastle, which is a treatment unique to their family, which is the main reason they travel. And one of the women was saying she could, and this is not the first time I've heard it, someone else here told me this, but she could feel the purification happening before even the banana treatment arrived in Newcastle, days before. And sometimes I hear people, not just banana treatment, it can be a retreat or it can be a course they have coming up, and before it even starts, before they've even arrived at the destination, they start to feel a purification or a transformation. So I'd love you to speak about that phenomena. Before we get into, then I want to get into the pelvis and the reproductive system. It's actually, I was in silence since 2 hours or more, because I was giving a banana treatment, and so silence and certain inward process is so important. So in silence, as we all know, that has great power to transcend, go within and feel the subtlety. So I was sitting in the back, and then because it's so much related to his question,
So now on the way here, I was just experimenting his car and switched on the heater. So the effect, because the heat balances, because in Ayurveda if you see, or majority, the Agni is transformation. Out of the 5 Mahabhutas, fire has the transformative power. That's why the digestion, and it's the Devata value. So like food getting converted into energy. So similarly, in all the treatments, whether it is in cooking, we use fire to transform, make it suitable to our digestive system. So whether you are eating raw, still there is fire. But then why the external? Because that Agni means purity, purifying. So in the right manner, Agni purifies. If it is Tikshna, it can even turn it into ashes. So that heat, when I turned it on, because of the weather, subtleties, it was just giving me all these, because once you are on health, and as a Vaidya, we are always seeing solutions in everything. So if there is a healing, we see. So we recommend, do Nasika for this way, do self-Abhyanga this way. If somebody has problem, do this. So one of the best thing I thought, because in Indian cars, we don't have the heating system. We have the cooling because of the heat. They provide more the ventilation of the AC. So immediately the thought came that we prescribe so many herbs and what to use. Because almost everyone drives. So if you have a heating system, just turn that on and utilize that system.
So like seat warmer.
Seat warmer.
Yeah.
So similarly, because he said Apana Vata, because Vata, as how many of you have heard about Vata, Pitta, Kapha?
Who has not? That's okay if you haven't.
Yes.
Okay.
So Ayurveda, because the Vedic expression is simple, it is Sarvam Dravyam Pancha Bhautikam. Every matter in the universe, we are all made up of 5 elements. So that same 5 elements in macro level, astrology, it might be divided into the solar system. But in micro level, in Ayurveda, it's even simplified. Vata means air and space. Pitta means fire and water predominantly. Kapha means water and earth. So these constitutions pretty much determine the functions. And have you all heard Vata more than other doshas? Often everybody is talking about their Vata. Either it's disturbed, or I need to get it in control, or it's all over the place. It's exact description of Vata. Vata is the most powerful because wind has that power. And if it is not in control, then it's the problem. So it's not about worrying about Vata, because worrying increases Vata. And Vata increases, worry will increase. So it's a very subtle energy. So out of these 3 doshas, Ayurveda constantly talks about Vata. And in Pandits, Yagyas, you will hear Pranaya Swaha, Udanaya Swaha, Samanaya Swaha, Vyanaya Swaha, Apanaya Swaha. So meaning only Panchavata, the Pandits are chanting, because it's that important. The entire yoga, the breath work, every aspect of Patanjali yoga is again on these 5 aspects of Vata. And in that, what Dylan said is Apana Vata. So that Vata which is the causative factor predominantly in the pelvis region, large intestine, where it is allowing the stools and everything to come out. When the baby is coming out of mother's birthing process, it is Apana Vata. Morning, when we need to let go of urine, feces, again Apana Vata. That balance. If somebody is used to constipation, because I heard that first time an American saying, when they were having panchkarma, it was the regular bowel, so he was missing his constipation. So rarely that term may come where somebody is so used to, but otherwise what is natural is every day all these 5 vatas function in their normal way. Yes. Apana and Apa means
Udana Vata.
and Apa means also water.
Right.
So the Apana Vata, which is predominantly in the pelvis region, but Apana, if you see, it is also to let go. What do you feel when that leaves? Letting go. So the letting go feeling, or that is liberating. Because for all of us, it's like we are attached. And in certain way, in Ayurveda it is described, for a patient who is very emaciated, hardly able to have food and all that, then one thing, like we say, is what is saving that person is the stool. If that stool leaves, life form will leave. So meaning even stool has the energy, but that letting go, whether you have introduced all those throughout the life, heavy cheese, undigested ama, everything that is getting accumulated, every kind of diseases, anything that is trapped in there. So letting go has a very liberating, elevating aspect.
I just want to ask, so you said those who are emaciated, the stool saves them, but even emaciated people should still be having daily bowel motions, right?
Not in that condition.
Okay, not very emaciated.
That condition, the Vaidya's job becomes like, make sure until that person is regaining, do not let him go into, but body has its protective, they don't easily. When you are not putting in, then the remaining one will be held.
And so Apana Vayu, that pelvic function of moving and letting go, whether it's, of course, urine, feces, or birthing, menstruation, but also like letting go. I mean, once you have a good bowel motion, like people feel good. Like how some people especially can get really irritated when they're not. And I remember once your father was saying, when treating depression, it's really important for Apana Vayu to be functioning properly.
Because it's opposite right at the Muladhara chakra. So the first chakra is where starting from Guda, the Guda Barma or the anorectal region. And Apana Vayu, it's like it's centered Adho, going downward. Like if there is upward, which is here, then downward is.
So Adho is like exhale and retain, is that Adho?
Adho meaning itself is down.
Okay.
And Apana Vata's function is downward. So that's why that downward movement.
Because I've learnt and we teach with self-oil massage, Abhyanga, which is such a key daily routine in Ayurveda. Really focus on the downward strokes, like push down, more pressure down, down, down. But some people also say to go to the heart, like, which is you're not going down, or if I go my legs, it's going up. But actually, and one of the reasons is for vata, the downward, and for the rasa, for the lymph to move down. So would you maybe clear up, and I know that's just not always downwards, sometimes going upward is good for like weight loss, especially with udvartanam, which is like a herbal powder. When it's rubbed upward, it goes into the sweat pores or to the hair follicles and helps the fat loss, or even to remove the hair from young girls, they do with the pastes upward, so it goes into the hair follicles and then they don't have to get waxed or shaved in the future. But is it predominantly like Abhyanga in general best to go downward? And is the main thing for that Apana?
It's meaning, Apana meaning downward. It is function, whether it's, see, three main forms of malas, meaning that which you don't store,
Waste
impurities,
products.
waste products. The malas are sweat, svedana, urine, mutra, and feces. So these are all functions of, except the svedana, which is more the pitta connection with the skin, brajaka pitta and all that functionality. But apana is mainly involved in whether urine, feces or menstruation and birthing. So the main movement of this whole circulation that happens is due to gravity downward. So when Ayurveda always has the principle, like in Panchakarma, we always bring the impurities and the doshas to the nikata, the closest opening. So if there is things like kapha related problems and everything, then we use the Udana Vayu to do vomiting as a therapy. If there are things that are related to ENT, above the clavicle problems, then we use Nasya Karmana, which is also called Shiro Basti, nasal or enema for the head. But other than that, gravity is all pulling downward. So that's why the most natural, if you see everywhere in Ayurveda, Bastis are famous, even Uttara Basti enemas, Uttara Bastis enemas in the yoni. There are all types of even enemas given in the urethra and in the urinary bladder as well. So all that, so even Abhyanga, which is moving downward, which is natural flow. Like what is the veins quality? Like it only, the blood goes in one direction, it cannot come back. So if you try to force it upward, you are forcing it. So that's the reason with the natural flow.
Right. Okay. And just when you're treating, say, fertility in a male, like, because also ejaculation is also Apana Vayu. So I'm just thinking, like, when we're, not just a male, but when we're nourishing that area, we're kind of sending stuff up and in from enemas, like Matra Basti is nourishing enemas. We don't, when we practice big enemas or purification enemas, it's in very monitored panchakarmas, like full 30-day at least programs. So mostly, and Dr. Harsha and I, particularly Dr. Harsha, regularly prescribes enemas to do yourself at home. But it's to hold in overnight and sleep with it, a small amount of oil, and it nourishes and builds, and especially good for fertility, for all genders. And that's like, how does that interact with Apana Vayu? Because it's going up and in, and then it's just nourishing, and then it...
If you see, like the most often we get chronic patients who have done wrong, is like, let's say, accidentally or because, you know, at certain time knowledge got distorted. So people started implementing, experimenting the knowledge, like especially in naturopathy, they've seen like the bird sucking it through its rectum water and eliminates. So in naturopathy, with that concept, they have introduced tea decoction enemas, though Ayurveda has talked about it since ancient times. But the difference, because certain aspect of these subtleties is missing, they've evolved into colon irrigation, which later means certain quantity going in. Later introduced putting a machine to do it. Later there is no technician even You can just go, book in, have the machine, pump it in. So that's force. But something which is very subtle, only that which can be held in that region, where it's not like even our key instruction of 30 ml of enema, we say hold it in, but if you can't, let it go. Don't worry. Because the minute we say hold it as an instruction, then people are again forcing. So that fear is not allowing them to hold it, and because we instructed they're holding, again conflict. So even in the subtlety of thought, it is creating imbalance. So that subtlety is really the in tuning with nature. Why, when we meditate, suddenly all our qualities are changing. We're suddenly much more gentle, our voice is changing, our food habits are changing, the way we look at nature, everything is refining. So Vedic wisdom is all about that refinement, because in order to feel the true purpose, because whether it is the celestial planetary influence we all have, one is all these urges and desires to achieve house, marriage, children, the typical, but the desires with no end to it, to slowly understand that every desire, everywhere we are, has a purpose. It cannot be just. So that happens with in tuning ourselves with nature. And that's why in Ayurveda, the key principle of Ayurveda's existence, why it came and why it was remembered by the Creator, which was already existing along with creation, is dharmartha kama mokshanam ayurvedam moolamuttamam. Meaning to attain this chaturveda phalas, dharma, artha means to get, kama, all the desires, and moksha, the enlightenment. Ayurvedic principles are key. That's why the most enlightened sages have actually brought Ayurveda into existence. So the most classical texts are by sages.
I just want to add, so with the colonic irrigation, even though Ayurveda also does what we call big Bastis or Shodhana enemas, big enemas, which is the same amount of size, there's thousands of enemas in Ayurveda and they all have some type of oil, unctuousness. And the colon water is scraping and it's drying. And I have seen multiple patients develop fibromyalgia from colonics, for example, because this is the main seat of our enteric nervous system, and it dries out the nervous system and creates roughness there. So it really aggravates the nerves. That's why the Macha Basti main thing is for the nerves, to nourish the nerves and build the nerves. So when you spoke about like Apana Vayu or just any channel, we collect the toxins to the closest site and then we flush it, whether it's vomiting, nasal cavity for the head, or Basti. So with banana treatment, which purifies the body, but it's a more subtle purification, it works on the level of hormones and emotions and samskaras. What's the outlet for that? I know if done on a menstrual period, it would be menstruating, and maybe physically that's like a vehicle for all these deep samskaras, these deep impressions and emotions and all the things which get purified with banana treatment. But yeah, what's like the pathway of how these parts of someone's physiology get purified with banana treatment? Because it's not as physical as these other systems.
It's actually a deeper question, because Ayurveda, one of the beauty of Jyotish, Vedic knowledge, is they're very much also spiritual, because the existence came into such deep practices. And the purpose, when a soul, there are few children here, so if you notice, parents might have been trying or all that, but the soul is the one which finally says, I'm ready. So the two parents coming together, selecting, preparing them because if you see, when before the childbirth, parents go through a lot to prepare for that particular child. And why the soul selects a particular parents, that lineage from mother's side, father's side, all are samskaras, because whether it is genetical diseases that have been given to the baby. And so, because for the soul, that calculation, it is said the jivatma, meaning the soul, is waiting for so long so that its karma calculation given by the planets and the solar system has to exactly match that time, that hour, that second, the parents, everything, place, longitude, latitude, sort of like when we were telling pulse, this way and this way, that point, that's where you feel it. So even birth of a soul, it is that precise, so that everything can come into action. So purposefully the soul has chosen this body with all the things that the soul has to practice to let go, so that karma will come into action, whether it is through siblings, parents, the school they go in, suddenly they quit that school, not for their choice because parents did it, some other circumstances have done it, and then they change. But every person a person is meeting, it is so organically and naturally we are meeting. So that letting go, like if you see, every time you hear this word, let go of it, or people after realizing, they'll say, I have finally let go of that thought, a person, a thing, the positions, everything. And for us, our family, because my father moved always and traveling, and wherever Mershiji moved, we moved. So I always used to say 5-year moving plan. Our family, our childhood is all around 5 or 7 years we would move somewhere, and we would completely let go of the friends, places, all that what we thought it's ours. So letting go has a deep meaning in it.
Letting go can be a challenging thing for people from whatever they need to let go of. Does balancing Apana Vayu help one let go of emotional attachments, or all the type of attachments that people
That
have?
also has, again, strong word, because like in India, everyone respects a sadhu, a sannyasini, anyone who has renounced, I will not marry, or I am all about my spiritual path, Ishvara Dhyana, high respect. But every Indian knows it's a very tiny percentage, and there is a respect, but every mother, every family is not trying to teach you learn all this and become a sadhu, sannyasi, don't marry, don't be in this world, just go to Himalayas. No preaching of that, because that comes naturally. So similarly, when somebody suddenly they fell in love with Shiva, and Om Namah Shivaya is so popular, everyone knows. So you felt, you went into that dhyana. What is Shiva Tattvam? Shivam Shantam Advaitam Param. He is the silence, he is Advaita, no duality, oneness. So it will give lot of vairagya, let go. So the let go quality can even come through mantras, through spiritual practice. So that way, this letting go is also, we have to be rightful, because you can see sometimes people do that for a short time, then why do they come back to their family or something? It's not they were not determined to do, they truly meant it, but they have certain responsibilities, duties. Why You know, somebody is born in this country and that country and this circumstances because your duties. So, by performing them and taking the guidance, then moksha, that's why it's the last. Enlightenment is not you're born and enlightened. That is very rare situations where that also has a purpose.
So back to the question of how banana treatment allows one to purify these deep samskaras, like whether it's a trauma, sexual trauma, or we've had, like, I've seen a small handful of women or a handful of women who have had painful periods that a couple of them literally go to hospital every month because of how painful it is. And one of them was for over 10 years. And then even after 2 days of banana treatment, it went away. She was on her period, she had no pain. So this is like deep impressions. Is that like the letting go? Is that the body letting go, this very deep?
Because it is like mother. Because whenever we talk about the blessing that in our family we are giving, we have certain rules and we can never say no to it. And in India, who comes, you know, it is always free, and whoever comes we cannot reject unless we are not ready, and the offering, only because of rules we may say no, because we are not in the proper way, but otherwise, yes, it is the blessing of the Devi. So it is
Mother
very
Divine.
Mother Divine. It is that feminine aspect of healing. So Ayurveda is always like mother. So anything that is, you know, like mother, it has only healing property. It doesn't have the harming property. So that's why certain treatments, certain procedures are very much all about healing. So when it is taken, its purpose is naturally healing, naturally letting go.
Okay. So you said like Ayurveda is, banana treatment is Devi, but also Ayurveda?
Ayurveda is mother.
Right. Because it's also Vishnu. Like the
Vishnu is the incarnation to bring Ayurveda
Okay.
as that masculine energy, but Mother Nature, feminine.
Right.
Ayurveda,
Right.
mother.
Okay.
How many women and how many men? So, yeah. Who has the power to give birth? Creator, Mother Nature, mothers. So it is so innate, that nature itself, you know, to produce that ojas, which is the life force in Ayurveda we say, it is Ashtabindu Pramana, meaning 8 drops in the heart, and Ardhanjali, everyone's own hand, that half hand, that is all over the physiology.
Is this one Anjali or this is one Anjali?
This is one Anjali, this
Okay.
is Ardhanjali.
This is the measurement system in Ayurveda. Instead of saying, take 30 ml of this oil or drink 1 cup, 250 ml, it says, 1 Anjali, the size of your hand, your dose is different to his dose. So that's how
And
they
imagine
measure.
Ardhanjali, even little, because here you can still hold more.
Right.
The minute you do this, what you can hold, that is the amount of ojas in the whole physiology. And mother has, whether it is twins, triplets, doesn't matter. Mother will produce all that ojas for the baby.
So ojas is like the vital essence of the body in the form of a liquid.
And all the 7 tissues, the essence, final product, the essence is ojas. So that kind of capacity, it's a very feminine energy.
And obviously building ojas is important for like fertility and reproduction and beyond. It's for immunity and all these things. Banana treatment is a purifying treatment, but also it of course nourishes and builds like ojas.
That's why many, because nowadays all the cows, they've all been violated, not treated well. So in the beginning in Ayurveda, if you see the way we talk about cow milk and how to use and ghee, It is not about abundant and so much. It is so valued how it is used according to digestion. But now that milk is not so good, so many hormones to produce it more, so that's why the allergies have come up. But otherwise, the milk diet and the rice, these are the two things, any baby after birth, first introduction is mother's milk. Second, the food that starts around the world, if you see, it's rice. Because when you pick the rice, when you squeeze it, it oozes out that milk.
Right. So during banana treatment, which is the treatment, the main reason they travel to give this medicine, all you eat is milk and rice and water. It's like you make a rice porridge. So it's a very...
With some sugar.
Huh?
With only sugar allowed.
Really?
In
but
milk
during
and
banana treatment?
Yeah.
That's
Milk
sugar.
and rice, and
Yes.
any taste you can add is sugar. No sour, no salt.
Okay.
But why sugar is where
not ideal.
In India, for example, you are very lucky. You have this raw sugar. The sugar or jaggery doesn't have salt in it. In India, it's like mass production. So people, there is lot of white sugar. There is lot of jaggery with salt. So in India, we have to be extra careful. Like, we have to not even tell jaggery.
And they color the jaggery, right? In
Exactly.
India, they adulterate.
So that's why we don't mention about sugar, but otherwise sugar
okay
is
to
allowed.
add. Okay. So while you're having this deeply purifying treatment, you're getting nourished by the milk and the rice, because rice has a bad name in some communities, but why it's the first taste for a baby, like there's one of the 16 rites of passage in the Vedic system is first when you feed the baby. It's called annaprasana, and it's done on an auspicious day, and you get a gold ring and you dip it in this rice milk and you put it in the baby's lips. It's a very special ceremony to be done like the very first time you feed. Because rice is like that, as you said, it's like the breast of the nature. Is it like breast milk of Mother Nature or something?
And out of all the dhanya, because all the grains and like that, rice holds that. And if you see what happened is we overdo it. So there are places where even India, where in the past the rice had certain aspect of that outer layers with all the things.
The fiber.
But the fiber is polished now. Most of the rice is very polished, and what you get is not the best. Otherwise, rice in right quantity for the right reason, it is wonderful. It's just, it has been overeaten. So, and that's in every aspect. Wheat now, so many gluten allergies because the original pure wheat without doing any GMOs and experiments is hard to find.
Can you go back to my first?
I have a question, just if I may. I'm wondering, it's a little bit nuanced, but I'm wondering about the ketogenic way of eating, which in my research I found to be very healing, especially for things in regards to seizures, of which I have. I actually had a seizure last night, so it's very timed very well somehow that I'm here right now with you, with all of you. I'm wondering, because I think rice and things like sugar, it's not, at this point in my search for the answers, I'm thinking that sugar's not a good thing for my brain to heal from the injury that it suffered from, of which now, of which led to the seizures that I have now. So I'm wondering if there's an alternative, maybe in the Ayurvedic approach. I know that, I don't know if you've heard about this carnivore way of eating, this eating meat and eggs and very simple and eliminating all else and just going for that. That is, I'm very attracted to that, and even hunting my own. But I understand, I think that in Ayurveda, it's about peace, and it's not,
Ayurveda, if you pick up any classical book, it has described every possible meat, how it tastes, what it has. So Ayurveda uses everything as a medicine. It never sees anything as not a medicine. So when you are trying to find healing in meat, you will find healing in meat. There are certain treatments. One principle is mamsam mamsena vardhate. Someone deeply emaciated, where we talked in the beginning, one of the key treatment is externally meat, specially cooked and rubbed on the physiology. Through skin, the extract is going.
Because they can't digest anything, these emaciated people.
Wow,
So through policies, and we rub,
So it's
particularly goat
special
meat.
treatment, very specifically done. And then there is a section in India who never, including us, do not touch meat. But let's say very adamant in their beliefs and everything. But a Vaidya has that special permission. If I have to save that person, without telling that person, I can even feed meat. So even that suggestion is given. So when it comes to life saving, yes, you have that freedom. But in whatever you search, you will find answers. So like you said, I found liking. Why? Because one, Samskara, what Dylan was saying, what you grew up on, what your ancestors, fathers, so that has there. So the introduction is craving through that. So do not suppress to be, vegetarian means it's a lifelong commitment. So don't just suddenly switch vegetarian, because there is a whole philosophy in being vegetarian. The number of things, how you cook, soak, if you are cooked just by soaking, if you are cooked under the sun, if you are fruits that you don't need to cook, then there are incompatible foods, all that. There is a knowledge. So it's a lifelong journey. So be slowly becoming vegetarian. So similarly, if there is a craving that is pulling you towards a meat or something, then the body is craving that. So unless you found the right vegetarian food to do that, it's okay. Don't feel guilty by doing it.
I was just wondering about your
Yes.
more, and the ketogenic also, you might know about this one. Instead of using glucose as fuel, you use fat as our primary source. The healing comes from that.
That's why if in Ayurveda we always talk about fat, we deal so much, whether it is the ghee, cow's milk, and that too boiled and then converted into yogurt. So we don't just take butter from milk, we convert it into yogurt, then we pour water and churn it, and from that the butter that floats, then we purify it, we heat it and let all the sediments go down, and that golden color is ghee. So meaning how much importance to animal fat, because it's animal fat, but it has been processed. Cow has like, is it 5 or 6 stomachs. There is an extensive way to pull out that milk. So like that, there are methods, and there are so many, like Abhyanga is dealing with oil. So fats, Ayurveda is all about it. But in animal, there is lot of things, like compared to fish, like fishes don't leave pheromones when they are killed or like that. But whereas animals, as soon as they are hunted or killed, on which situation, then they are releasing that fear. So that fear that goes has a subtle sanskara, where people are eating, and that fears and all that are also coming in. So there is like every action we do, there is like a karmic reaction to it. If we are doing directly, there is certain karmic connection. Indirectly, there is certain karmic connection. And so in your spiritual path, for health, everything will be forgiven. So for health, don't only go with the concept, oh, this is wrong, but this is right for me. no wrong. It's just this is a certain thing that was in access for you, you are doing it. And as Ayurveda will replace, the reason I'm not giving you one solution, because that's where it is. There is no one solution. It is you get into Ayurvedic practices. Right now it's maybe not even about diet. What else can you add? The Nasika, the banana treatment.
What's this one?
Sniffing oil up the nose directly to the brain, that's one of the main specific medicated oils. And the enema is very particular for neurological
And
issues.
very specific to you. It will be amazing. So there's so many possibilities. Food is one aspect of it. So eventually you'll get there. Because when we overwhelm ourselves with research, because today if internet has given us access to all this knowledge, but it has also spoiled us too much. So where, how much, is it time tested, is it just out of, are you part of the experiment? Because one thing about keto diet or any diet, it is a trend. One trend comes, then next trend comes, but every principle of Ayurveda we speak, we are very conscious of, is it part of the classical text, is it spoken by rishis? And then in today's time and desha, kala, meaning the country, the season, all these into account, we make sure that it suits, the principle suits. But otherwise, it's very important that, you know, we're not only following the trend.
The whole of Ayurveda, like, it includes all this. Ketogenic comes in the spring more, like all this when the body needs. So Ayurveda is the laws of nature. That's why, as you said, Shastras, which means it's thousands of years. Like, there's no one been on a vegan diet or a carnivore, the two extremes, for multi-generations.
Yeah.
So he's not saying like Ayurveda and nothing else. It's actually using the principles of Ayurveda too. Oh, I have this charm to go hunting. How can I use the principles of Ayurveda? When to eat the meat, how to cook it, what season, what time of day, all these things.
Unbiased way of listening to nature within you and within.
Applying it to everything. As you said, Desha Kala Patra means your habitat, your season, or the time. So not just the time of year, but the time of your life. Or I'm suffering from seizures, or I'm 70 years old, whatever. I just had a baby. And Patra means you're a unique person. So applying that.
And right now, your job is to balance that health. Once the health is achieved, then you'll suddenly come with a new thought. How can I cut the meat? That will come also. So then it's a spiritual part. So attend to whatever you are attending sincerely, so with no guilt.
Can you, I'm not, go back to my first question on people purifying before a treatment or before a retreat, like that phenomenon of how people feel already. Do you understand what I'm asking?
No.
Like, for example, in Newcastle, we just did banana treatment, but one of the women was telling me, I was already feeling it 2 days before, like you weren't even here. And this also happens when people go on a retreat, like they're about to go on a 5-day yoga retreat or meditation, and they already start feeling the transformation 2 days before.
That's collective consciousness. Because what's the, I think COVID is the best example of collective consciousness. Certain fears that came in, certain people collectively said no to vaccines, or certain lifestyle, or becoming even more aware, or the collective fear that is going into everyone. So similarly, if you're going to a retreat, it's a collective consciousness. All that group members are already interconnecting. Whether they have met each other, like very commonly, women might have experienced in when you're living in hostels as young girls, and if there are other women or even siblings, sisters and mothers, all their cycles sync. So similarly, that collective consciousness is the one factor, and the biggest collective consciousness that does that is Chandra, moon, because it is the closest entity Its gravitational pull creates the waves, the tidal waves, the potency of herbs and plants, emotions. That's why full moon, particularly who has a sensitive moon, they'll feel full moon, no moon, eclipses even more than others. And someone who has a strong Chandra, then it's like how they utilize that energy. It's all about that. So either if you have weak moon, you are utilizing that sensitivity to the exact, making it into a potential. And if you have strong, you're like saying, some people can easily say, I don't feel anything on full moon, I don't feel anything on no moon or eclipse. Also good, you are immune in certain way. But now if your moon is that strong, then go into subtlety on full moon, do certain practices like fasting. On every waxing and waning moon, the 11th day is very special to fast. And a majority like Hare Krishna, they follow that more because it's Vishnu. Every Ekadashi is dedicated to Vishnu's certain activity. So in a month it will come twice. So like that, there's all these principles, but based on, means there is mythology, but mythology you can say is how can you explain this vast knowledge in a nutshell is mythology. But for us, the more we will dig into mythology and practical, there is connection.
Okay, one more before maybe we can go into questions is on the, I mean there's so much we could speak about, like the bladder area is such a key area we treat, a key marma, even the navel to access that. But I want to maybe a less significant, but the coccyx and the coccyx, because, and you mentioned Guda, which is the rectum, anorectum area. So this kind of, and that bottom of the spine leading to the rectum, particularly someone might get injured, like falling on the coccyx. It's not the easiest thing to heal from. It's kind of, you just got to wait. But yeah, like whether it's self-oil massage every day to that area or yoga asana, what is the...
Again, again, like always Ayurveda, don't go one way. Like one solution, yes, there are few things. Something like if I say, you said, and I've said use Nasika. If I were to feel everyone's pulse, Nasika will be in the prescription. Because it's one thing which accesses many. So Ayurveda's concept is always Bahukalpam, Bahugunam, Sampannam, Yogyam Aushadam. So an Aushada is made into Bahukalpam, many medicines. So, in allopathy you may come across maximum 4 or 5, it's a very rare thing. Whereas Ayurveda, minimum 3 and maximum of 50, 80 herbs, 100 herbs. It's a mixture of so many. And there are procedures, which one to add at the end, in the cooling, and all these are there. So that multi-composition, so herbs and Bahugunam, it should have many qualities. Sampannam, it should also be abundantly found, otherwise it cannot be useful for the entire mankind. It will be for very few rare people. So that is, and Yogyam Aushadam, the medicine that suits you. So similarly, the practices, what he said is yoga asanas. So yoga that can subtly give you, because it's again you're entering into a lifestyle practice, something for life. So you don't need to be an expert in all the yogic asanas, and Guru's guidance always. The deeper the tradition, the knowledgeable the Guru, more grounded, rooted, no quick inventions, no too many, because today's time we want to, patent everything. So people are calling different names of yoga. This yoga is the common word, and then yoga this, yoga that. So again, very subtly being careful that you're not losing from that Patanjali, because the seers who have given that grounded effect, Lord Rama was the best yogi, Shiva is Adi Yogi. So yoga is very profound. It is as, enlightenment. Yoga means reaching the state of enlightenment. So bringing in, like if somebody does yogic practice, they will eventually come into Ayurveda, into all the Vedic practices. So allowing yogasana, breath work, because these are subtlety of that Apana Vata we discussed. And in that, one of the key self-healing, because we are always, if we are relying only on others, let's say mother will never say no to us, always, but even mother will be busy. So we have to eventually learn that mother will not come for everything. So similarly, the self-abhyanga, maybe if you are very lucky, your mother may give you self-abhyanga till age 1, for some maybe 1 month, 6 months, 1 year or 5 years. But after that, the baby has to become self-sufficient. So mother's job is to make the baby self-sufficient. So when she is doing, baby wants to follow. If mother is doing everything for the baby, they will not. So slowly that self-abhyanga, what he was speaking, using the oil with the right intention. Again, mother's touch. And then every time also what I mentioned, like that car heater, utilize practical. So any invention that is actually allowing your healing is not wrong. It's just overdoing and coming back to Shastras. What's not wrong? Because like imagine, we all say hot water sipping is very good. But what commonly will happen is, because you want to get the benefit of hot water, but you don't like its heat, so you will boil it and then you will add cold water or other temperature water to balance to your taste. Then there are two different waters mixing and it's not the same property. Hot water means one kind of water, you boiled it, and if it's too hot, you let it cool down. If you want it to cool faster, do this or some method, and or put it in a metal glass or something, so that takes away the heat. But do not do mixing fast forward to bring it to certain temperature. So like that, that's Ayurvedic principle there. Hot water, Ayurveda, principle of not mixing two types of water, that is Ayurveda. But saying I am doing Ayurvedic but you are mixing two, then you have broken two principles.
So I learned how bad this was. Bad's not a great word, but I was practicing that. I would, because for those who don't know, sipping hot water is the number one prescription, because hot water, it dilates channels, it opens them up, it opens the lymph to move, it opens the blood to flow, and like hot water washes grease off dirty dishes, it cleanses the intestines and cleanses the toxins. So we should definitely be sipping hot water throughout the day. It's very profound. So if I had to go, like the other day I had to go quickly and I wanted to drink, so I'd boil the water and I would add the cold water so I could have a drink because I was thirsty, and they told me off and said like, this is not good.
No, also he's so sincere. Every time I sit in consultation, he will only offer me hot water. And if maybe it was hot or something, I needed more water, I would specifically instruct him, can you get me normal water, room temperature? So like that, it's okay, because it's also the desire. So if you are in that rush, drink room temperature. But you cannot say, oh, hot water sipping is too hard. That moment, in that rushed moment, don't sip hot water. You might burn also. So it's really, Ayurveda is adopting, liking, and not feeling strained. Like parents have the most good intention, but when they are forcing their knowledge to children, they repel. So similarly, the knowledge of Ayurveda is for life. So you take it and it will take your own assimilation. Whether a day, sometimes even after we prescribe, some will, because they need it, so immediately they'll apply. Some will take even 1 month to really discuss and go back and forth, and some will take their time. They have always come for checking the pulse and doing, but not taking the herbs. But then eventually they come in. So everyone has that journey. But yes, if you have realized, then don't take the long cut.
Okay, I'm just going to summarize some practical things and then we'll go to some questions. So, sip hot water, and this is like take-home stuff. Give yourself an oil massage, so essential. And like you said, it should feel natural. So just like showering every day should be like brushing your teeth. You don't think twice about it. Like before we wash our skin, we put oil on it and we massage ourselves, as foundational as that. That way we're every day lubricating, balancing the vata, preventing degeneration of our bones, whether it's osteopenia, osteoporosis, our brain.
What type of oil?
Coconut or sesame oil, or better medicated oils. But we'll send a follow-up email about this in a poster that you can download to do it. And sipping hot water, sniffing oil up the nose, and not just any oil, medicated. Because it's going inside, we want a specific oil, like a refined, like properly cooked oil. And that's, again, every day the way to lubricate the brain and prevent neurodegeneration. I usually have it on me and I do it in the talk, but just like one drop, activates the brain, opens the capillaries. So important.
Is that incorporating the lymph?
The what?
Lymph, yeah.
Abhyanga, definitely oil massage.
So when I dry brush,
Mm,
I go up the body
right.
and through the breast, not over the breast, but through here to cleanse this area. So then if I was to apply sesame oil down, then I can incorporate that brushing up and the oil down. Is that counterproductive?
Then how you have to imagine is, see how to the heart there are veins coming and arteries taking the blood. The filtered pure blood is getting distributed by arteries, what we call in Ayurveda dhamani, whereas veins are bringing in the blood. So similarly, you have one that goes out and the motion of coming back to the heart. So that is another way of self-abhyanga. What Dylan was saying is also when the therapist, and then it's a treatment itself. When a therapist is doing a treatment to you, the same abhyanga, it's different. It is bit more intense. You do it occasional. But what can be done every day is self-abhyanga. And that you can do both ways, toward away from the heart, bringing it back to the heart, same thing. And the chest, the stomach, joints is circular.
And the dry brushing alone will irritate vata, which is the quality of dryness. And when the body dries up, the bones become brittle, and that leads to osteopenia. When neurodegeneration, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, nothing but dryness in the brain. So dry brushing is mostly aggravating unless there's a lot of what we call kapha, like heaviness and oiliness, whether it's excess fat or very oily fat. But just the oil massage is very good for lymph. And if you're going to do dry brushing, definitely you should do Abhyanga because it will protect that. But I don't think it's necessary for most people, particularly beyond menopause. It can irritate. But not only Abhyanga, you can also try getting received Abhyanga for a therapist. We have Carmela here and Sana, they give Abhyanga. And you can then see, because you can try yourself, then you get from a therapist, you're like, oh, there's actually, you learn from when you receive Abhyanga. So it's a beautiful combination.
And especially, what is Ayurveda? Because nowadays it's a very commonly used term, right? Everything is called Ayurveda now. But anyone who dedicates themselves, like Dylan was about to become an architect and left all that, came into Ayurveda. So there is a history where anyone who becomes a therapist, especially in the West, it was not necessary. It came out of that pure liking, knowing, the curiosity to know what this science is. So when you get a treatment from such therapists, so the therapist is also bringing that value. So there is that profoundness when it's not just a massage, and but they are diving deep into Ayurvedic practices. It may be one start where they are. So in the West, one lucky thing, because Ayurveda is not as supported, you can't get all the herbs. So to make a proper panchakarma setup like that, full-fledged Ayurveda may be difficult. But here, one thing often, therapists are very dedicated. So getting occasional that treatment value from them is very, very good. But empower yourself, what you can do.
So I just want to finish speaking about the banana treatment. It's the main reason the Vaidyas travel, and it's basically taking a medicine on a piece of banana about the size of your little fingernail and has some herbs on it, and you swallow it like a big tablet. And usually women travel, particularly women, it's for all genders, but especially travel to India just for 5 days. It's usually a 3 or 5 day treatment, so we have women who travel to India for it and come back. But from all over the world, but obviously not everyone is going to do that. So the reason they travel is so that you can come, and that's why we had in Sydney and Melbourne people come from Perth and New Zealand, because it's shorter than going to India. So it mainly, as we talk about, works on the hormones and purifies the body, and it can be things also like headaches and skin conditions, so many things.
Means the reason we don't mention, because let it be your experience.
Yeah.
What you need, it will happen, it will unfold, and the purification needed. And only after COVID we have officially introduced back to everyone, like men including. Otherwise it was mainly for women in their cycle, but anyone who is not in their cycle, then there will be subtle marma treatment, a 5-minute treatment, and for men also. So it is beneficial because it really acts on that, allowing the physiology to naturally gain that access. And it's also very spiritual, like what the topics we kind of touched upon, letting go, not holding on, deep emotions, because many times we're holding even manova srotas. There are channels for just mind. So they are so minute, and we are holding on to a thought.
And that blocks the manobahashrota,
Yes.
thought.
Yes.
Right.
So how a thought is blocked. But maybe we should ask the question and answer.
Just on that
Yes,
point,
yes.
and I'm sorry, I know that I've asked a few questions already, so I want obviously not to have a fair go. The seizures I was talking about, I had an accident 9 years ago. I fell 10 meters from a building, broke my third vertebra. I was in a coma for 2 months. And since that time, I don't actually remember the fall, but since that time I've had this thing on my heel that's like a wound. It was an open wound, and then it healed over, but it still hasn't healed, and it's still tender, and it's like what you said about holding on. It just won't heal, and then I've hit it on some blunt surface, and then another one will. It's like this whole area is like something's up there, and it just.
It's a marma point, because when you fell, did you also injure there?
I don't know. I just woke up from the coma and I had this open wound there.
One is there are connections where you had and this, but also that has a marma point. So until that is not resolved, that healing is also not happening. Because
How do you resolve it?
certain injury deeply, we'll have to check what's the marma that got affected and how do we heal. And half of the marma is the vital points in the physiology. There are, to be precise, 107. Like, in Chinese or the meridian, there may be even more than 300 and so. But Ayurveda brings them to the main gross level marmas, all these vital points, which are basically junction points of arteries, veins, tendons, muscles, and occasionally even nerves. That's where that junction point holds that information, what that area, like if this hand needs to move, all that, there are certain points which govern the principle. And all these extremities further are governed by 7 main, and those 7 main are further simplified into 3 main, which are the governing principles. So, like that, from the center to the whole body, there are 107, and each of those points have their function. So, when we injure, it could be, stone, metals piercing, breaking bones, affecting the joints, and some are very easy to heal, like children most of the time they hurt themselves but they heal. Some are extremely dangerous, and then there are some where, like, if you remove the, like heart, if an arrow is pierced, sometimes if you remove the arrow they will die, so the arrow is left there, or like that. There are even such marmas, and then there are few, there is harm, instant death. So, it's a very deep science. So, but the self healing, self Abhyanga, Nasika, self pulse reading, start with that. It will give you a lot of insight. If possible, we can also check.
Well, I put castor oil on it, and big black like stone came out, and I'm thinking that's just, I don't know what else it could be other than a calcified, almost like a kidney stone, but in my foot.
Yeah, many things. There's so many aspects, but giving the attention, thinking, healing, and it's good you didn't remember. Why we don't remember past life? So there is a purpose to forget also.
And so the acupuncture points come from Marma, and definitely like seeing the Vaidya, banana medicine can help. There's many things, but help purify those deep things, and even he does Marma treatments for those who are prescribed it. And what he mentioned as well, if you're not menstruating this week, we're giving 3 doses of banana treatment, because that's a general wholesome. You have to receive a quick Marma treatment. It's called Marma banana treatment, and that's to open up your channels to receive the banana medicine. So for anyone who's not menstruating at the time, and that's being offered tomorrow for 1 day only in Repton, Dr. Harsha gives you that treatment, then you're ready to receive the banana medicine. And then the banana medicine is given tomorrow night, which is Saturday night, Sunday morning, Monday morning. And it takes less than 20 minutes. You'll come everyone will be in silence. They'll bring your medicine out, made for you, and one by one they'll give you your medicine, and then you go home. And some people take the medicine in the morning, go to full-time work with 3 kids. Some people have come from Sydney because they want to take 3 days off, and so it's up to you what you make it. Whatever you do is.
And what should you be eating on either side of that?
Only milk, rice, and water from your first dose.
If there is specific conditions, you can definitely talk.
If you struggle with that or there's certain diet, we can
coconut water is allowed, and pomegranate is allowed, but not with the milk.
Yeah.
There should be a gap.
So Rachel had.
I have a question that's just about what we did in the beginning. When you felt our pulse, is that like a regulating of the nervous system, or what was the purpose of us just kind of tuning into our pulse at the very beginning?
Self-healing, of course, like everyone who we teach, so they have lot of that aspect, like that's the first thing we will ask our group and like that. So for you there was no introduction and like that, so and this is natural question, but feeling the pulse, your own pulse, is like a gardener, Mahashiji's line, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. When a gardener forgets to water the roots of his plants, so when we feel our pulse, we are getting the same effect, we are nourishing ourselves. So if you would have all noticed, there was that subtle nourishment, subtle, like when mother comes home, children come to mother, tell all the things, this happened, that happened, and a child is settled. So that is pulse. Like Dylan, Aditya didn't see Dylan for 11 days. So he was like, in the beginning, is he here? All that. He did all this, now he's free. He doesn't need to hold him. So like that, the pulse has similar effect. It wants you to know. That's the job of the messenger. So, and why here? Because this is the main entrance. You will enter the home through main entrance, not through window. Possibilities are there. So there are several places we can feel the pulse, but our hands are the main entrance.
We have some videos online of Dr. Harsha and his father teaching pulse, so we'll also send that to you. But yes, any other questions? Yes.
Yes.
Wondering with the milk rice, can you please do a quick snapshot of the recipe?
Because, it's like just cooking rice, and then once the rice is cooked, add milk and bring it to boil.
Okay.
It's like a rice porridge. Yeah, and the reason is so you want all your agni, your digestive fire, on the banana medicine. And as you said, that nourishes while you're purifying.
And if you're in a rush, then just rice, add hot milk to it. Like you don't have to boil them together or make it longer process.
And vegan people just eat plain rice for 2 days. And it would be just 2 days the diet, because it's given tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Is it 8:30? No, it changed to 8:30. Should have, so I'm glad to mention that. And then from then it starts, so it's just Sunday all day, Monday all day, and then Tuesday back to normal food. And yes.
Is it important to know what you're wanting to heal when coming into this, or does the medicine find?
We ask Sankalpa for that reason, means your desire, because it kind of allows you to let go of that which you were holding. Because there are, if you notice, we use the word yajna. So in the purification, whether it's the donation and that, it goes into Pandits performing according to your birth sign, moon sign, the nakshatra, and one of them is the intention. And so the intention, when you write that, because also when we are doing the process, we see that intention.
Okay. So if you've got like many things going on, you kind of like
Write it.
you just let it go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can write a longer one.
I like the sankalpa, like intention. It's like you have it and then you let go. Like you plant that seed and then.
Because almost everything we are supposed to not do result oriented. We know the result, but it can be greater. Why are we limiting our result? So rather than result oriented, we have to put the efforts. So being the karma yogi. So knowing the potential is good. You have become an athlete and the potential is maybe Olympics. But today, in a year, these are all very stressful, and sometimes, why are you there? First you have to know, and once you are there and determination, it will automatically unfold.
So we're going to finish now. I just want to say, so tomorrow he's offering consultations and these marma treatments for those, as well as Vedic astrology, medical astrology. We didn't speak much about it today, but Dr. Harsha's very big in Vedic astrology. And if you want to book, you can. It's vitalveda.com.au/bookings. There are concession to get available prices if we don't want financial to be a barrier. So just speak to Soleil or I, and we can connect you. And for the banana treatment, it's by donation. So you donate whatever you feel. The MBT, the marma treatment, because there's yajnas done, which is ceremonies done in India for you, because marma is so powerful, always we have ceremonies done. That's a fee which should not be reduced. So given, and then the rest is, you can adjust if you need. So.
I have one more question, but maybe it's better to ask at a different time if we're limited.
Yeah, we're finished now, and I think, especially if it's personal, you can do consultation, and there's different times as well. There's 10-minute.
It relates to everyone. It's not necessarily personal.
Okay, ask.
I was just wondering about the music. and this
Apana Vayu.
Apana
and
Vayu.
this downwards, and this idea of music being, let's say, drums or even something like the didgeridoo. This, you know.
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm wondering, is it okay? Do we have enough time if you would just
See, in music like flute, that uses the Udana Vata, someone using their lung capacity. So one is, you playing an instrument has certain effect because it has certain energy required. For singing you need vocal cords or certain instruments. But listening to music has always been associated with profound healing. Playing and listening even more deeper, of course. So music plays Sadhya Phalati Gandharvam Masamekam Puranakam. So meaning, if you read Puranas, the effect may come in a month or like that.
And what is Puranas?
Is like all the mythologies and all this knowledge told in a story form. But Gandharva Veda, which is music, the classical music, instant effect. If anything has that instant power, that is music. So music is definitely healing.
Correct. Up and down. So
Yes.
Udana is upward vata, right? Udana.
Udana.
So there's 5 different vatas. We were speaking about this bottom one, which goes down, but there's the throat, which he said, which is upward.
And also there was even Tansen. He is one of not very ancient musician in India. It was like, I think 11th century or something. And his music skill was so skillful that when he played music, if he played music for rain to come, rain will come. So that's the capacity of music too.
Okay. Thank you so much all. And
Wishing everyone good health.
we will, if you have questions, you can speak to me or Saleh, and maybe we can end with feeling the pulse.